What's up, guys? Welcome back to the next video of the MedalMan WICSO series. So, today we are going to be continuing what we've been doing recently, and we will jump right back in. First off, we are going to start over here in Anatolia, where we see not quite Anatolia, because we start in Crimea, so I am weaking out. As we see, the Caucasians attempt to go on a conquest of their new northern neighbor. Of course, just looking at the size, this is an easy sweep for Caucasia. However, we see the Crimeans jump in and regain a small bit of what used to be their territory. The rest is gobbled up by the Sir Caucasians. Fairly simply, we see Sir Caucasia once again ruling over much of this. We also see Sir Caucasia finally commit to exploring past the Caucasus. Come up here, something about this river, and explore all up along the Sir Caucasia area. Finding there's quite a lot of land up here. They do try to take quite a bit, however, the Caucasus are still kind of in the way. Though they do begin to move around it. You also see them expand here along this coast and finally enter to the Iranian areas. We also come over here to the blue team, who knowing other ways to easily expand, began pushing over into Iran. With them eventually marching into the valleys of this area. We see the purple team do the same. Though theirs is admittedly looking a lot smoother. Next, we see Mesopotamia's Operation Desert. Their plan is to explore as much into this as possible, because who knows what lies in it. And so, after exploring a bunch as they can, they eventually are forced to stop, finding that they still haven't found anything behind it. Which definitely disappoints them. We come down here to Qataris, where we can explore a little bit here and continue down here along the Omani coast. Like so. And we also see them exploring far down along this coast, eventually into modern-day Yemen. We also see Eritrea do the same thing as they find Yemen. They explore much of this southwest area because they plan to conquer it as they send across ships and seize much of this area right here. We also see the red team making moves onto the Arabian area. As soon as we're on here, and eventually find Eritrean explorers down here. This whole area in the middle eventually found, meaning the entire Red Sea has been explored. And the red team, with a lot of strength, goes after it. Coming down here on this coast to the Eritrean border here, and is down as far as they can along the rest of this coast. The rest being taken by the Eritreans themselves. However, the red team is beginning to become so big, it's getting bad for them, since no nation can survive being so huge, and eventually we see a revolt break out. We see two groups break off. We see Arabia and Sudan break off. Now the red team won't easily stand and declares war on their revolts. Initially, they actually make some progress, pushing back Sudan along the coast and marching down the Nile, while beginning to march and actually take the Arabs' biggest and only city. However, after a while, because of how much expansion they've been doing, already tired troops begin to lose morale and some desert, allowing for them to push back. We see the Arabians push them back to here, encircling the city, and capturing the troops inside. Suddenly, the tide is completely flipped in Arabia, as the Arabian troops begin to march up this, taking another city, and beginning to threaten older red team lands. We also see Sudan making another similar success, pushing back on the Nile, though they do still lose a bit of ground over here. We then see them begin to push back up the Nile, seizing this city, and the red team decides that it's not worth it to continue fighting this war, and decides to give independence to, sorry, I paused too early, republics. As we see two new independent states down here. We also see the Eritreans continue slight expansion into farther south Ethiopia. They're not making any new cities yet. We now begin to move across the Mediterranean towards Cyprus, whom faces a revolt. We see a pale lime green team revolt up against Cyprus across their Spartacus lands and even parts of Crete. We see the Spartacus. That's not different enough. The Spartacus. Why can't I get Spartacus pushed back? Then and Sparta almost entirely out. But we see the Cyprus instead pushing them out of Crete. After a while, we see Cyprus given to Spartacus demands, except that they get to keep that city there. With that, we have another new nation. Now up here in Greece. Greece actually asked them to join them, but they go, no. We're not joining you. You guys suck. And Greece doesn't really fight back against that because they don't want to start a war with the beige team still on the move. Talking about the beige team on the move, we see them launch an invasion of the Romanians. In the early hours, we see beige troops cross into Romanian lands as they push up the Danube and near this capital here, along with crossing the Danube over here. Romania quickly accepts to base team terms, which are not as harsh as they thought, really just taking this territory to increase their power on the Danube that the Romanians can never get any ideas of threatening them. And now that hurts the Danubians, though they are still fine. We now cut over to the Samnites. Samnites do one major thing here. They've had alliance with these people. However, these people have slowly been drifting away, becoming more in favor of the Diamond Alliance. However, Samnites take this as a big no. And you see the Samnites out of the blue betray this purple nation as the alliance is officially dissolved. We see them march into the north of this country's mainland territory. Quickly, and as these guys thought would happen, we had the Diamond team join in to help these guys. However, troops aren't making it there in time as we see them flood over the capital and eventually closing back to the end of the peninsula here. The Samnites also attempt a landing here. However, this actually fails as they are pushed back out of over here. This alliance requests to move through Beijing and answer here in Montenegro, but they reject, and the pink team cannot stand much against this. Slowly, we see the Samnites getting pushing back more and more here, and we see the pink team decide something. There's no use keeping these guys here, especially with these two's ambitions. So, they jump the purple team instead. Betrayal of the century right now. Greek troops, all of a sudden, from where they were stationed, began to march on the cities over here of this nation as we see Albanians flood over the border and take this northern area. As you see, these guys are kicked out of here. This South Italian state officially collapses. Very simply, we see their lands become divided up by these three nations, continuing both the Samnite and the Greek dreams. Now, we move over here to the Gaulics. They're kind of hated by everyone around them because everyone around them has some ambitions on their territory. And so, we see the gang up of the century as we see the purple team, the lime green team, the orange team, Normandy, and Brittany all attack Normandy Gaulics at the same time. However, with the nomadic strength, the Gaulics actually do surprisingly well. They were already planning to try to invade these guys, and although they knew it was going to be hard, also no quite why they have the cities yet, they knew it wasn't impossible, and so they launched attacks. Hold on a second, I'm trying to find a color I can use for these guys. They fly over Brittany's border here. Sicily, however, stopped here. Normandy also is able to hold them off before the capital city is lost, though they lose much of their territory in the process. Coming down here to the Lime team, we see the Gauls take over the city and begin to march into the Lime team. Though this doesn't last very long as the Lime team completely pushes the Gauls back here, liberating the Orange team here, and marching onwards. They push up here on this coast, seizing this city, overstopped, but do come over this direction and take the interior back. With this, these two countries have a much easier time invading the Gauls. As eventually we see this area become occupied somewhat like this. Then we see the Orange's main offensive over here. The Orange team floods through these three nations, burning their capital cities to the ground in the process, as they believed they were allied to the Gauls. The Balkanized Alps weren't meant to be in the long run. These are swiftly annexed, as we see the Orange team march across the Alps here, north into the plains, seizing this city, and south along the coast here. Push through here and find the Gaul capital from two directions, along with pushing the Gauls south here and circling some troops against the Alps. Now, with these also down here, we see Brittany and Normandy finally begin to turn the tide, as both of them are mostly liberated, and they invade into France jointly. Now, though both have different plans, both decide on a joint march to this city right here. With all this pressure on them, the Gauls realize that they are generationally fried and surrender over to the Alliance. So let's see what that looks like.